Some of us, maybe even most of us, remember what it was like to go on a road trip which required an atlas or a map, a paper map, right? When I got my driver's license and began driving on my own, I needed guidance to get where I intended to go. In the glove box of my 1969 Chevy pickup truck, there was a variety of maps. I recall one being for the state of Oklahoma, which is the state I lived in. Another specific to the city of Tulsa, which was 45 minutes to the north, and one for Oklahoma City. I also recall a map for Arkansas, but I'm not really sure why that one was there. Maybe it was a two-pack or something, Oklahoma and Arkansas, I don't know. If you had someone on the journey with you, they became the navigator. They would tell the driver when and where to turn. But if you were traveling by yourself, using the map took more pre-planning. I remember one particular journey where I had scribbled directions on the back of a less than celebratory high school geometry test. I needed John. I needed your help. I remember laying out the city of Tulsa map on my coffee table to help me find my destination. The first line of my directions, go to Tulsa. I already knew how to get there, no map required. Now from that point on, there was a list of 7 or 8 instructions for me to follow. Go east on I-44, turn right and go south on Yale Avenue, and so forth and so on. Being by myself required me to know my next instruction and then to pay close attention to the street signs in order to find the way. Do you remember the first time that you were on a road trip and there was GPS? What I remember about those early GPS systems was the annoying voice that kept saying, recalculating, recalculating. You remember that? I can't help but think of my faith journey when I think about maps and GPS. There have been times when I had it all planned out and I traveled from point A to point B with laser focus and intentionality. During other parts of my faith journey, all I seem to hear is the word recalculating, recalculating. Advent, the church season leading up to Christmas, is a time of recalculating. John, son of Zechariah, we call him John the Baptist, was out in the wilderness around the River Jordan telling people they needed to recalculate their faith journey and provide them a map of sorts. The words John used were the same ones used by the prophet Isaiah when he was calling his listeners to recalculate. The voice of one crying out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough ways made smooth, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God. The people had lost their way along their spiritual journeys. They had lost their focus and lost the ability to see God at work around them. They had lost sight of the ultimate destination, the ultimate goal, that all flesh shall see the salvation of God. All flesh, not just my flesh, your flesh, our flesh, or somebody else's flesh. No. The ultimate destination on our spiritual journey is that all flesh shall see the salvation of God. Now, all flesh, it does include my flesh and your flesh. So looking at ourselves in the mirror is a good place to start as we listen to the voice of John the Baptist crying out to us within the depths of our own wilderness to recalculate what is most important in our lives and make our paths straight. I find it interesting that the writer of Luke includes the names of the prominent rulers of Jesus' day. The other writers don't include it. The writer informs us that when John's public ministry began, it was the 15th year of the reign of Emperor Tiberius, when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea, and Herod was ruler of Galilee, and his brother Philip, ruler of the region of Iturea and Trachonitis, and Licinius, ruler of Abilene, during the high priesthood of Annas and Caiaphas. There must be more to the addition of these names than simply setting John's ministry within a particular historical timeline. John's message of hope and preparation for the coming of the Messiah draws our focus away from worldly things that compete against the spiritual things that draws all flesh to see the salvation of God. I think there's no better time for us to hear this message from the wilderness in order for us to recalculate and turn away from the distractions and hopelessness that continues to flow from the prominent rulers of our time. The rulers of Jesus' time and the rulers of our time only think they are the be-all, end-all. John knew better, as do we. God's love and salvation work in the reality of creation, in the messiness of the real world. Let Advent be a time to plot out our maps, to catch our breath, and rest in the hope of the coming Christ child. And when that day arrives, may we have the vision to see the truth and the courage to live out that truth in action. To help us with our discernment in truth, I end with the prayer we heard Paul share with the people of Philippi. Paul prayed, and this is my prayer, that your love may overflow more and more with knowledge and full insight to help you to determine what is best, so that in the day of Christ you may be pure and blameless, having produced the harvest of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ for the glory and praise of God. Amen.